Mm. Julia Bucky is first. Shutter escapes is second. Tasha Luna is third. Hey, everybody. I'm Harry Potter. Welcome back, everybody, to Conk's Corner after 2 days off. Things looking a bit Mark's having a good time back here. Oh, man. So, hello, everybody. Hello. Welcome. My name is John Voth. This is Conk's Corner. That's Mark back there. Give a little lean in, Mark. Give a little lean in. A little evil lean in. And this is Dexter. And he's got a little, you're a wizard, Harry.
I even have this little lamp for my face.
So things are, oh yeah, you do actually. Whoa, oh yeah, you got this evil thing going on back there. Wow. Okay, friends, things are looking a bit different here. Oh wait, first of all, if you're tuning in for the first time, I am reading Harry Potter for the first time. I've never read it before. So I'm going through the books. I've seen the first two movies, don't remember anything from them. And things are looking a bit different here because I'm trying new things and they aren't complete yet. So it's going to look like this a little bit. But I've got some fun, surprising things that I'm going to insert in future readings, probably at the start of book 5. I missed this. I missed all of you. This was, it's always a weird 2 days. You know, I think having a break, a 1 day break in a week is good. I probably will institute that. But yeah, it's always weird because it gets to 6 o'clock and I'm like, I should be doing something. I feel like I should be doing something. So I hope you've all had a good weekend, a good time off. I certainly did. There was a social distance, a small birthday picnic, and got to see some of my friends after a long time. So that was so nice. Thank you. I missed all of you. That's really nice of all of you. Okay, so again, for those people who are tuning in for the first time, there are I read all the comments afterwards, so please don't include any spoilers or hints about what's coming up. You know, if you want to ask a question, put it in the Q&A cards at the bottom. Obviously, for those of you listening on YouTube, hello, first of all. Thank you so much for tuning in and for writing comments. I really appreciate you, and I try to get to your comments as often as possible. But yeah, thanks for tuning in for that. I save all these on YouTube, so if you want to catch up, go to the link in my bio. My Patreon's in there. And so is my, my YouTube's on there, and so is my Patreon. And for those of you on YouTube, it's on the banner. There's like a link to my Patreon there. I am reading, depending on the tier, I'm reading every week The Goldfinch, which will be uploaded today for those of you. Oh, the rock version of Harry Potter popped up. Okay, so yeah, I'm reading The Goldfinch every single week. It's going to get uploaded on Tuesdays or Mondays. And for the other tier, I'm reading short stories, which will happen every second week. You'll get an hour of that. And some other fun perks. So you can go into the like and subscribe. Don't forget to like and subscribe and comment. You know, that's how I get forward. Just like and subscribe. So stupid. Okay, so last couple of things before we kick this off again. We have the healthcare workers. Thank you so much for what you do. And please let me know on the chat, maybe you can monitor that, Mark, if the music's loud enough or not, because...
well, I can't because my phone volume...
No, I mean, people can comment and you can let me know in case I miss it. It's a different position. I don't know if it's loud or not, so... Bam! Okay, thank you, healthcare workers, for everything you do. You're awesome. Thank you so much. I got Dobby watching over Dexter here, so is Hagrid over there. So let's get this started. If you have your pens or whatever to put chemicals on your face every single day, do it with me. Because I'm sure at some point I'll get some kind of rash and I'll have to go to the hospital. And overwhelm all the good healthcare workers. Okay, let's do this. You promised you wouldn't do that again. Do what?
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Oh, I wouldn't do it seriously. I'm still, you know, since I know that it annoys Shay, I'll probably do it. Younger brother here. Oh, and I'm drinking some whiskey. Clank. Let's get this started. All right, okay, so we were at the end of The Egg and the Eye. Harry Potter had just gone to the prefect bath hall, put the egg into the what do you call it? The pool, basically, underwater. It sang to him and told him, oh, what did it tell him again? Oh, to talk to the mer people, right? Yeah. The mer people, right, Mark?
It said something about the mer people, like stealing something important.
Yeah, that's right. And there's a whole debate about mer people and sirens, and et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so and then he got almost caught by Snape. Moody caught him, but he's a good guy, so he let him off. So now it's chapter 26, the second task, page 416 in this book if you want to follow along. Clinky, clinky, clink. You said you'd already worked out the egg clue, said Hermione indignantly. Keep your voice down, said Harry crossly. I just need to sort of fine-tune it, all right? He, Ron, and Hermione were sitting at the very back of the charms. I feel like they should just have some kind of word instead of he, Ron, and Hermione. Like the magic trifecta, the magifecta, magecta, the magecta, the trigic, something like that. The trigic. He, Ron, and Hermione were sitting at the very back of the charms class with a table to themselves. They were supposed to be practicing the opposite of the summoning charm today, the banishing charm. Ooh. Owing to the potential for nasty accidents when objects kept flying across the room, Professor Flitwick had given each student a stack of cushions on which to practice, the theory being that these wouldn't hurt anyone if they went off target. It was a good theory, but it wasn't working very well. Neville's aim was so poor. Yes! Neville! Neville's aim was so poor that he kept accidentally sending much heavier things flying across the room. Professor Flitwick, for example. No, Neville, no! Just forget the egg for a minute, all right? Harry hissed, as Professor Flitwick went whizzing resignedly past them. Oh, screw this. Landing on top of a large cabinet. I'm trying to tell you about Snape and Moody. This class was ideal cover for a private conversation, as everyone... Oh, Dexter's gone again. There he is. Okay, well, a little sneak peek, not sneak peek, but a little hint of what I'm going to be doing. Since he always goes to his usual places to lie down or something like that, I'm going to have a Dexter cam. You know, once I have my DSLR going, there's going to be a little Dexter cam. I think that'd be pretty fun. The class was ideal cover for a private conversation, as everyone was having far too much fun to pay them any attention. Harry had been recounting his adventures of the previous night in whispered installments for the last half an hour. Snape said Moody's searched his office as well? Ron whispered, his eyes alight with interest as he banished a cushion with a sweep of his wand. It soared into the air and knocked Parvati's hat off. What, do you reckon Moody's here to keep an eye on Snape as well as Karkaroff? Well, I don't know if that's what Dumbledore asked him to do, but he's definitely doing it, said Harry, waving his wand without paying much attention, so that his cushion did an odd sort of belly flop off the desk. Moody said Dumbledore only lets Snape stay here because he's giving him a second chance or something. What? Said Ron, his eyes widening, his next cushion spinning high into the air, ricocheting off the chandelier and dropping heavily onto Flitwick's desk. Harry, maybe Moody thinks Snape put your name in the Goblet of Fire. Did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire? That's never not going to be funny. Oh, Ron, said Hermione, shaking her head skeptically. We thought Snape was trying to kill Harry before, and it turned out he was saving Harry's life. Remember? She banished a cushion and it flew across the room and landed in the box they were all supposed to be aiming at. Harry looked at Hermione, thinking. It was true that Snape had saved his life once, but the odd thing was, Snape definitely loathed him, just as he'd loathed Harry's father when they had been at school together. Snape loved taking points from Harry, and had certainly never missed an opportunity to give him punishments, or even to suggest that he should be suspended from the school. I don't care what Moody says, Hermione went on. Dumbledore's not stupid. He was right to trust Hagrid and Professor Lupin, even though loads of people wouldn't have given them jobs. So why shouldn't he be right about Snape, even if Snape is a bit evil? Said Ron promptly. Come on, Hermione. Why are all these dark wizard catchers searching his office then? Why has Mr. Crouch been Why has Mr. Crouch been pretending to be ill? Said Hermione, ignoring Ron. It's a bit funny, isn't it? That he can't manage to come to the Yule Ball, but he can get up here in the middle of the night when he wants to. Okay, little look-see over what they've been saying here. So Hermione's saying, I don't think Snape's evil because Dumbledore. Which I'm like, yeah, I mean, I could see that. Maybe Snape's like, what'd you call those evil wizards again? Death Eater. Maybe he is a Death Eater and he's like a spy in the place for good people? Or something like that, but wouldn't Dumbledore see through that? Wouldn't Dumbledore know that? I feel like Dumbledore knows all. I feel like he's all-knowing. Something like that. Hello, Liz Kicha. Sorry, I'm mispronouncing it. From Puerto Rico. Welcome. Okay. You just don't like Crouch because of that elf, Winky, said Ron, sending a cushion soaring into the window. You just want to think Snape's up to something, said Hermione, sending her cushion zooming neatly into the box. I just want to know what Snape did with his first chance, if he's on his second one, said Harry grimly, and his cushion, to his very great surprise, flew straight across the room and landed neatly on top of Hermione's. All right, question for y'all on this break. I think I already asked you what do you miss most about being a kid, so I'm going to ask you, what is something that you have regifted to somebody? What's something that you've regifted? Obedient to Sirius' wish of hearing about anything odd at Hogwarts, Harry sent him a letter by Brown Owl that night, explaining all about Mr. Crouch breaking into Snape's office, and Moody and Snape's conversation. Then Harry turned his attention in earnest to the most urgent problem facing him: how to survive underwater for an hour on the 24th of February. Because it's easier on the 23rd. Joke! Mark?
What?
I made a joke.
Was it supposed to be funny?
Yeah. Wait, give us a little evil lean-in.
Is this what
Yeah.
professional comedians are supposed to be like, John?
Wait a second, I'll just block you. Ron quite liked the idea of using the summoning charm again. Harry had explained about aqualungs, and Ron couldn't see why Harry shouldn't summon one from the nearest Muggle town. Hermione squashed this plan by pointing out that, in the unlikely event that Harry managed to learn how to operate an aqualung within the set limit of an hour, he was sure to be disqualified for breaking the international code of wizarding secrecy. It was too much to hope that no Muggles would spot an aqualung zooming across the countryside to Hogwarts. That's funny. Hey, B-Boy Richmond! Good to see you again. Or read your name again. Who's saying this? Of course, the ideal situation would be for you to transfigure yourself into a submarine or something, she said. If only we'd done human transfiguration already. But I don't think we start that until 6th year, and it can go badly wrong if you don't know what you're doing. Yeah, I don't fancy walking around with a periscope sticking out of my head, said Harry. I suppose I could always attack someone in front of Moody. He might do it for me. I don't think he'd let you choose what you wanted to turn into, though, said Hermione seriously. No, I think your best chance is some sort of charm. So Harry, thinking that he would soon have had enough of the library to last him a lifetime, buried himself once more among the dusty volumes, looking for any spell that might enable a human to survive without oxygen. However, though he, Ron, and Hermione, Trigic. So dumb.
The golden trio.
The golden Trigic. However, though he, Ron, and Hermione searched through their lunchtimes, evenings, and whole weekends, though Harry asked Professor McGonagall for a note of permission to use the restricted section, and even asked the irritable, vulture-like librarian, Madame Pince. Oh yeah, I forgot about her. Vulture-like. I'm gonna write that down. Pince. Like a vulture. Like a vulture! So I can remember her whenever she pops up, maybe the 2 other times she's in this whole series. Vulture-like librarian, Madame Pince, for help. They found nothing whatsoever that would enable Harry to spend an hour underwater and live to tell the tale. Familiar flutterings of panic were starting to disturb Harry now, and he was It's just a funny term. And and he was finding it difficult to concentrate in lessons again. The lake, which Harry had always taken for granted as just another feature of the grounds, drew his eyes whenever he was near a classroom window, a great iron-gray mass of chilly water, whose dark and icy depths were starting to seem as distant as the moon. This is crazy. They're gonna go underwater? It's kind of dope, yo. It's kind of like, are they going underwater too? Or are they just going to the moon?
What are you talking about?
Whatever I want to, Mark. Just as it had done before he faced the horntail, time was slipping away as though somebody had bewitched the clocks to go extra fast. Maybe somebody has. There was a week to go before Friday the 24th. There was still time. There were 5 days to go. Oh, he was bound to find something soon. 3 days to go. Please let me find something, please. With 2 days left, Harry started to go off food again. The only good thing about breakfast on Monday was the return of the brown owl he had sent to Sirius. He pulled the parchment, unrolled it, and saw the shortest letter Sirius had ever written to him. Send date of next Hogsmeade weekend by return owl. Harry turned the parchment over and looked at the back, hoping to see something else, but it was blank. Weekend after next, whispered Hermione, who had read the note over Harry's shoulder. Here, take my quill and send this owl back straight away. Harry scribbled the dates down on the back of Sirius' letter, tied it back onto the brown owl's leg, and watched it take flight again. What had he expected? Advice on how to survive underwater? He had been so intent on telling Sirius all about Snape and Moody, he had completely forgotten to mention the egg's clue. What's he want to know about the next Hogsmeade weekend for? Said Ron. Dunno, said Harry dully. The momentary happiness that had flared inside him at the sight of the owl had died. Come on. Care of magical creatures. Whether Hagrid was trying to make up for the blast-ended Scroots, or because there was now only 2 Scroots left. Well, the wind got real up in my face here. I don't know if you saw the curtain flutter in. Or because there were now only 2 Scroots left, or because he was trying to prove he could do anything because Professor Grubbly Plank could. Harry didn't know, but he had been continuing her lessons on unicorns ever since he'd returned to work. It turned out that Hagrid knew quite as much about unicorns as he did about monsters, though it was clear that he found their lack of poisonous fangs disappointing. My brother wants to name a toy sword. What should he name it? A Bloodbringer. How old is your brother? Because I'd find it really funny if he'd be 5 years old swinging around his Bloodbringer. Okay. Today he managed to capture 2 unicorn foals? Foals. How do you say that? Foals. Foals. Unlike full-grown unicorns, they were pure gold. Holy damn! Parvati and Lavender went into transports of delight at the sight of them, and even Pansy Parkinson had to work hard to conceal how much she liked them.
Easier to spot than the adults, Hagrid told the class. They turn silver when they're about 2 years old, and they grow horns at around 4. Don't go pure white till they're full grown, round about 7. They're a bit more trusting when they're babies. Don't mind boys so much. Come on, move in a bit. You can pat them if you want. Give them a few of those sugar lumps.
You okay, Harry? Hagrid muttered, moving aside slightly, while most of the others swarmed around the baby unicorns. Yeah, said Harry.
Oh, just nervous, eh?
Said Hagrid. Bit, said Harry.
Harry,
said Hagrid, clapping a massive hand on his shoulder so that Harry's knees buckled under its weight.
I'd have been worried before I saw you take on that Horntail, but I know now you can do anything you set your mind to. I'm not worried at all. You're going to be fine. Got your clue worked out, have you?
Harry nodded, but even as he did so, an insane urge to confess that he didn't have any idea how to survive at the bottom of the lake for an hour came over him. He looked up at Hagrid. Perhaps he had to go into the lake sometimes to deal with the creatures in it? He looked after everything else in the grounds, after all.
going to win!
Hagrid growled, patting Harry's shoulder again, so that Harry could actually felt himself sink a couple of inches into the muddy ground.
I know it. I know it. I can feel it. You're going to win, Harry.
Harry just couldn't bring himself to wipe the happy, confident smile off Hagrid's face. Pretending he was interested in the young unicorns, he forced a smile in return and moved forwards to pat them with the others. It's like I'm doing kung fu with my nose. By the evening before the second task, Harry felt as though he was trapped in a nightmare. He was fully aware that even if, by some miracle, he managed to find a suitable spell, he'd have a real job mastering it overnight. How could he have let this happen? Why hadn't he got to work on the egg's clue sooner? Yeah, Harry. I mean, I'm also preaching to the choir. Me. How do you feel about grudges? I don't like when people have grudges? I don't know what the question means. Why had he ever let his mind wander in class? What if a teacher had once mentioned how to breathe underwater? He, Ron, and Hermione sat in the library as the sun set outside, tearing feverishly through page after page of spells, hidden from each other by the massive piles of books on the desk in front of each of them. Harry's heart gave a huge leap every time he saw the word water on a page. But more often than not, it was merely take 2 pints of water, half a pound of shredded mandrake leaves, and a newt. I don't reckon it can be done, said Ron's voice flatly from the other side of the table. There's nothing. Nothing. Closest was that thing to dry up puddles and ponds, that drought charm. But that was nowhere near powerful enough to drain the lake. There must be something, Hermione muttered, moving a candle closer to her. Her eyes were so tired she was poring over the tiny print of old and forgotten bewitchments and charms with her nose about an inch from the page. They'd never have set a task that was so undoable. They have, said Ron. Harry, just go down to the lake tomorrow, right? Stick your head in, yell at the mer people to give back whatever they've nicked, and see if they chuck it out. Best you can do, mate. That was... I find it's like... That's what I'm... All the mer people are like, who's this foreigner? Could you please fix Dobby? He's leaning. Absolutely. Oh, wait, 1 sec. There he is. Fixin' Dobby for Mary 171. Here's Hagrid. I don't know if you can see him, but he's I'll lean him against Dobby. There we go. There's a way of doing it, Hermione said crossly. There just has to be. She seemed to be taking the library's lack of useful information on the subject as a personal insult. It had never failed her before. I know what I should have done, said Harry, resting, face down on Saucy Tricks for Tricky Sorts. Oh, I want to read that book. Saucy Tricks for Tricky Sorts. So not only... So not only is this a book of tricks, it's a book of saucy tricks. So if somebody like catches you or finds out the trick, you just be like, "Gotcha, fool." I got you real good because I'm so saucy.
Oh, John, you're so saucy.
Just wait for my next saucy trick. I should have learned to be an animagus. Richard, hey Rich, welcome man. I should have learned to be an animagus like Sirius. Yeah, you could have turned into a goldfish any time you wanted, said Ron. Or a frog, yawned Harry. He was exhausted. It takes years to become an animagus, and then you have to register yourself and everything, said Hermione vaguely, now squinting down the index of weird wizarding dilemmas and their solutions. Professor McGonagall told us, remember? You've got to register yourself with the improper use of magic office. What animal you become and your markings, so you can't abuse it. Hermione, I was joking, said Harry wearily. I know I haven't got a chance of turning into a frog by tomorrow morning. Oh, this is no use, Hermione said, snapping weird wizarding dilemmas shut. Who on earth wants to make their nose hair grow into ringlets? Me, sometimes. That'd be amazing. Just show up to like a fancy dinner party with your nose hair coming up. I wouldn't mind, said Fred Weasley's voice. Be a talking point, wouldn't it? Harry, Ron, and Hermione looked up. Fred and George had just emerged from behind some bookshelves. What are you two doing here? Ron asked. Looking for you, said George. McGonagall wants you, Ron. And you, Hermione. Why? Said Hermione, looking surprised. Dunno. She was looking a bit grim, though, said Fred. We're supposed to take you down to her office, said George. Ron and Hermione stared at Harry, who felt his stomach drop. Was Professor McGonagall about to tell Ron and Hermione off? Perhaps she'd noticed how much they were helping him, when he ought to be working out how to do the task alone. We'll meet you back. We'll meet you back in the common room, Hermione told Harry as she got up to go with Ron. Both of them looked very anxious. Bring as many of these books as you can, okay? Right, said Harry uneasily. By 8 o'clock, Madame Pince had extinguished all the lamps. Oh, she's very sharp. I feel she's a very sharp person. She's a vulture. Had extinguished all the lamps and came to chivvy Harry out of the library. Staggering under the weight of as many books as he could carry, Harry returned to the Gryffindor common room, pulled a table into the corner, and continued to search. There was nothing in Madcap Magic for Wacky Warlocks. Oh man, I love these books! Madcap Magic for Wacky Warlocks. What? This wacky world's like, oh, check out this fire spell. Oh, so wacky. Nothing in A Guide to Medieval Sorcery. Not one mention of underwater exploits in an anthology of 18th century charms, or in Dreadful Denizens of the Deep, or powers you never knew you had and what to do with them now that you've wised up. Crookshanks crawled into Harry's lap and curled up, purring deeply. The common room emptied slowly around Harry. People kept wishing him luck for the next morning in cheery, confident voices like Hagrid's, all of them apparently convinced that he was about to pull off another stunning performance like the one he had managed in the first task. Harry couldn't answer them. He just nodded, feeling as though there was a golf ball stuck in his throat. By 10 to midnight, he was alone in the room with Crookshanks. He had searched all the remaining books, and Ron and Hermione had not come back. It's over, he told himself. You can't do it. You'll just have to go down to the lake in the morning and tell the judges. He imagined himself explaining that he couldn't do the task. He pictured Bagman's look of round-eyed surprise, Karkaroff's satisfied, yellow-toothed smile. He could hear Fleur de la Cour saying, I knew it. He is too young. He is only a little boy. He saw Malfoy flashing his Potter Stinks badge at the front of the crowd, saw Hagrid's crestfallen, disbelieving face. Forgetting that Crookshanks was on his lap, Harry stood up very suddenly. Crookshanks hissed angrily as he landed on the floor, gave Harry a disgusted look, and stalked away with his bottle-brush tail in the air. But Harry was already hurrying up the spiral staircase to his dormitory. He would grab the invisibility cloak and go back to the library. He'd stay there all night if he had to. Lumos, Harry whispered 15 minutes later as he opened the library door. Wand tip all right, Wand tip alight, he crept along the bookshelves, pulling down more books. Books of hexes and charms, books on merpeople and water monsters, books on famous witches and wizards, on magical inventions. Magical interventions, though. That'd be funny. Who would they intervene with? It was like, Dumbledore, you've been using too much magic in your alone time. I don't know what that means. I'm going to move on. Wand tip alight, he crept... Oh, sorry, okay. On anything at all that might include one passing reference to underwater survival. He carried them over to the table, then set to work, searching them by the narrow beam of his wand, occasionally checking his watch. 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning. The only way he could keep going was to tell himself over and over again, next book, and the next one, the next one. End of bit. Question for y'all. What's the most interesting thing about you that we wouldn't learn from your resume? You know, it could be anything. It can be a little skill. It can be just a fact about you. Anything. What's the most interesting thing about you? This is a time for you to brag. Brag. Tell us what's super interesting about you. The mermaid in the painting in the prefect's bathroom was laughing. Harry was bobbing like a cork in bubbly water next to her rock while she held his firebolt over his head. Wait a second. So he's back at it. He's back in the the bathroom. Okay. Okay. Harry was bobbing like a cork in bubbly water next to her rock while she held his firebolt over his head. Oh, she's talking. Okay. Come and get it! No, that's not a mermaid's voice at all. It's more magical here. She giggled maliciously, though. Come and get it. Come and get it, she giggled maliciously. Come on, jump. I can't, Harry panted, snatching at the firebolt and struggling not to sink. Give it to me. But she just poked him painfully in the side with the end of the broom, laughing at him. That hurts. Get off. Ouch. Harry Potter must wake up, sir. Oh, it's a dream. Stop poking me. Dobby must poke Harry Potter, sir. He must wake up. Harry opened his eyes. He was still in the library. The invisibility cloak had slipped off his head as he'd slept, and the side of his face was stuck to the pages of Where There's a Wand, There's a Way. He sat up, straightening his glasses, blinking in the bright daylight. Harry Potter needs to hurry, squeaked Dobby. The second task starts in 10 minutes, and Harry Potter... 10 minutes? Harry croaked. 10 minutes? He looked down at his watch. Dobby was right. It was 9:20. A large, dead weight seemed to fall through Harry's chest into his stomach. Hurry, Harry Potter, squeaked Dobby, plucking at Harry's sleeve. You is supposed to be down by the lake with the other champions, sir. Oh, it's too late, Dobby, Harry said hopelessly. I'm not doing the task. I don't know how. Harry Potter will do the task, squeaked the elf. Dobby knew Harry had not found the right book, so Dobby did it for him. What? Said Harry. But you don't know what the second task is. Dobby knows, sir. Harry Potter has to go into the lake and find his Weasley. Find my what? And take his Weasley back from the mer people. What's a Weasley? Your Weasley, sir. Your Weasley. Weasley, who is giving Dobby his jumper. Dobby plucked at the shrunken maroon sweater he was now wearing over his shorts. What? Harry gasped. They've got Ron? The thing Harry Potter will miss most, sir, squeaked Dobby. And past an hour... The prospect's black, Harry recited, staring, horror-struck at the elf. Too late. It's gone. It won't come back. Dobby, what have I got to do? You has to eat this, sir, squeaked the elf, and he put his hand in the pocket of his shorts and drew out a ball of what looked like slimy, grayish-green rat tails. Right before you go into the lake, sir, gillyweed! I just gave him the answer. Just give it to him. Okay. What's it do? Said Harry, staring at the gillyweed. It will make Harry Potter breathe underwater, sir. Dobby, said Harry frantically. Listen, are you sure about this? He couldn't quite forget the last time Dobby had tried to help him, he had ended with no bones in his right arm. Dobby is quite sure, sir, said the elf earnestly. Dobby hears things, sir. He is a house elf. He goes all over the castle as he lights the fires and mops the floors. Dobby heard Professor McGonagall and Professor Moody in the staff room talking about the next task. Dobby cannot let Harry Potter lose his Wheezy! Wait, what? Is he talking about Weasley?
Yeah.
What does he think everybody else is called? Harry's just, hi! Hermione's, hi, Hermione! He just like doesn't know names now. Harry's doubt vanished. Jumping to his feet, he pulled off the invisibility cloak, stuffed it into his bag, grabbed the gillyweed, and put it into his pocket, then tore out of the library with Dobby at his heels. "Dobby is surprised to be in the kitchen, sir!" Dobby squealed as they burst into the corridor. "Dobby will be missed! Good luck, Harry Potter, sir! Good luck!" "See you later, Dobby!" Harry shouted as he sprinted along the corridor and down the stairs, 3 at a time. The entrance hall contained a few last-minute stragglers, all leaving the great hall after breakfast and heading through the double oak doors to watch the second task. They stared at Harry as Harry flashed past, sending Colin and Dennis Creevy flying as he leapt down the stone steps and out into the bright, chilly grounds. As he pounded down the lawn, he saw that the seats that had encircled the dragon's enclosure in November were now ranged along the opposite bank, rising in stands that were packed to bursting point and reflected in the lake below. The excited babble of the crowd echoed strangely across the water as Harry ran, flat out, around the other side of the lake towards the judges, who were sitting at another gold-draped table at the water's edge. Cedric, Fleur, and Crumb were beside the judges' table, watching Harry sprint towards them. Premonition! I believe that, since it's everybody's most valued thing that's got stolen down into the bottom of the lake, Crumbs is Hermione, so Hermione's down there with Ron. Fleur de la Cour, I don't know, she's like so... Does it have to be an object, or can it be something conceptual? So maybe for Fleur de Cour, it would be her status, I think. But an actual thing, it would probably be her hair. Maybe her hair got stolen. And Cedric. Cho Chang? Maybe Cho Chang's down there? Something like that? Yeah, okay, let's see. "I'm here," Harry panted, skidding to a halt in the mud and accidentally splattering Fleur's robes. Percy Weasley. "Where have you been?" said a bossy, disapproving voice. "The task's about to start." Harry looked around. Percy Weasley was sitting at the judge's table. Mr. Crouch had failed to turn up again. Now, Percy," said Ludo Bagman, who was looking intensely relieved to see Harry. "Let him catch his breath." Dumbledore smiled at Harry, but Karkaroff and Madame Maxime didn't look all too pleased to see him. It was obvious from the looks on their faces that they had thought he wasn't going to turn up. Harry bent over, hand on his knees, gasping for breath. He had a stitch in his side that felt as though he had a knife between his ribs. But there was no time to get rid of it. Ludo Bagman was now moving amongst the champions, spacing them along the bank at intervals of 10 feet. Harry was on the very end of the line, next to Crumb, who was wearing swimming trunks and was holding his wand ready.
All right, Harry. No. All right, Harry.
Bagman whispered as he moved Harry a few feet further away from Crumb.
Know what you're going to do.
"Yeah," Harry panted, massaging his ribs. Bagman gave his shoulder a quick squeeze and returned to the judge's table. He pointed his wand at his throat, as he had done at the World Cup, said, "Sonorous!" and his voice boomed out across the dark water towards the stands.
"Well, all our champions are ready for the second task, which will start on my whistle. They have precisely an hour to recover what has been taken from them. On the count of 3, then. 1, 2, 3!
The whistle echoed shrilly in the cold, still air. The stands erupted with cheers and applause. Without looking to see what the other champions were doing, Harry pulled off his shoes and socks, pulled a handful of gillyweed out of his pocket, stuffed it into his mouth, and waded out into the lake. The lake was so cold he felt the skin on his legs searing as though this was fire, not icy water. His sodden robes weighed him down as he walked in deeper, so he took off his clothes and swam naked. Ha! His sodden robes weighed him down as he walked in deeper, now that the water was over his knees and his rapidly numbing feet were slipping over silt and fat, slimy stones. He was chewing the gillyweed as hard and fast as he could. It felt unpleasantly slimy and rubbery, like octopus tentacles. Waist deep in the freezing water, he stopped, swallowed, and waited for something to happen. He could hear laughter in the crowd, and knew he must look stupid walking into the lake without showing any sign of magical power. I wonder what the other ones are doing. The part of him that was still dry was covered in goose pimples. Goose pimples?
Yeah. Goose pimples.
I've never said that in my life. I've only just heard goosebumps.
Oh, it's
Goose-
another way. It's another word for it.
Yeah, I've never even heard it. Oh, okay. It feels weird talking to you with my back turned to you.
I know.
It feels weird.
Yeah.
Well, we'll fix that. Part of him that was still dry was covered in goose pimples, half immersed in the icy water, a cruel breeze lifting his hair. Harry started to shiver violently. He avoided looking at the stands. The laughter was becoming louder, and there were catcalls and jeering from the Slytherins. Then, quite suddenly, Harry felt as though an invisible pillow had been clapped over his mouth and nose. He tried to draw breath, but it made his head spin. His lungs were empty, and he suddenly felt a piercing pain on either side of his neck. Harry clapped his hands around his throat and felt two large slits just below his ears, flapping in the cold air. He had gills.
Gillyweed.
God, it makes sense. Makes sense. Makes sense. It makes sense. God. Okay. Without pausing to think, he had gills, but he couldn't swim. That'd be even funnier. Without pausing to think, he did the only thing that made sense. He flung himself forwards into the water. The first gulp of icy lake water felt like the breath of life. His head had stopped spinning. He took another great gulp of water, and felt it pass smoothly through his gills, sending oxygen back to his brain. He stretched out his hands in front of him and stared at them. They looked green and ghostly under the water, and they had become webbed. He twisted around and looked at his bare feet. They had become elongated, and his toes were webbed too. It looked as though he had sprouted flippers. Oh boy, Harry's gone through a couple of transformations in all these books. It's a common theme. Pimpleweed, Josh. The water didn't feel icy anymore either. On the contrary, he felt pleasantly cool and very light. Harry struck out once more, marveling at how far and fast his flipper-like feet propelled him through the water, and noticing how clearly he could see, and how he no longer needed to blink. He had soon swum so far into the lake that he could no longer see the bottom. He flipped over and dived into its depths. Silence pressed upon his ears as he soared over a strange, dark, foggy landscape. He could only see 10 feet around him, so that as he sped through the water, new scenes seemed to loom suddenly out of the oncoming darkness. Okay, I'm going to finish the sentence before I take a drink. Forests of rippling, tangled black weed, wide plains of mud littered with dull, glittering stones. He swam deeper and deeper, out towards the middle of the lake, his eyes wide, staring through the eerily gray water around him, to the shadows beyond, where the water became opaque. To the shadows beyond. Here we go. Let's do a little looking straight at you while I'm drinking.
So enjoyable.
Small fish flickered past him like silver darts. Once or twice he thought he saw something larger moving ahead of him. Oh, that's a little foreshadowing. For sure he's going to be fighting some kind of big creature, the squid. But when he got near, he discovered it to be nothing but a large blackened log. There's going to be something else. Or a dense clump of weed. There was no sign of any of the other champions. Merpeople, Ron, nor, thankfully, the giant squid. Light green weed stretched ahead of him as far as he could see, 2 feet deep, like a meadow of very overgrown grass. Harry was staring unblinkingly ahead of him, trying to discern shapes through the gloom. And then, without warning, something grabbed hold of his ankle. Toddler gulps. Yeah, exactly. Harry twisted his body around and saw a Grindylow, a small, horned water demon, poking out of the weeds. Its long fingers clutched tightly around Harry's leg. Oh yeah, bringing them back from the third book.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
Mark?
Yeah, that would be correct, John. That was one of the creatures that they learned about in Professor Lupin's class.
What did they do again?
They're just like these
Just-
underwater monster.
But they had some quality going on.
I don't know.
Yeah, me neither. Its long fingers clutched tightly around Harry's leg, its pointed fangs bared. Harry stuck his webbed hand quickly inside his robes and fumbled for his wand. By the time he had grasped it, 2 more Grindylows had risen out of the weed. Oh yeah, and these guys are always high.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they're always high. These guys are always high. Hey, Harry. Had seized handfuls of Harry's robes and were attempting to drag him down. You want to come smoke some weed with us? Hey man, we're running out. You got some from the surface, dude? Relatio, Harry shouted, except that no sound came out. Oh shoot. A large bubble issued from his mouth, and his wand, instead of sending sparks at the Grindylows, pelted them with what seemed to be a jet of boiling water for where it struck them. Angry red patches appeared on their green skin. Harry pulled his ankle out of the Grindylows' grip and swam as fast as he could, occasionally sending more jets of hot water over his shoulder at random. What the heck, dude? Every now and then he felt one of the Grindylows snatch at his foot again. Sick kicks, man! And kicked out hard. Finally, he felt his foot connect with a horned skull, and looking back, saw the dazed Grindylow floating away, cross-eyed, while its fellows shook their fists at Harry and sank back into the weed. Dude, that's so inconsiderate. We're weed-loving, peaceful dudes. Harry slowed down a little, slipped his wand back inside the robes, and looked around, listening again. He turned full circle in the water, the silence pressing harder than ever against his eardrums. He knew he must be even deeper in the lake now, but nothing was moving except the rippling weed. How are you getting on? Harry thought he was having a heart attack. He whipped around and saw moaning Myrtle floating hazily in front of him, gazing at him through her thick pearly glasses. So Myrtle, Harry tried to shout. But once again, nothing came out of his mouth but a very large bottle. There you go. Whoa, that was a loud one. Do it again. Wow, nice. Moaning Myrtle actually giggled. You want to try over here? She said, pointing. I won't come with you. I don't like them much. They always chase me when I get too close. Harry gave her the thumbs up to show his thanks, and set off once more, careful to swim a bit higher over the weed, to avoid any more Grindylows that might be lurking there. You know what I'm noticing? This book, or just this series, is full of like really flawed, good-hearted characters. Moaning Myrtle, Dobby, Hagrid isn't. I don't find him that flawed. No, he's not. But there's just a bunch of characters like her and Dobby they're hella annoying.
I mean, I love Hagrid, but he's flawed.
I love it. Huh?
He's flawed.
Oh, yeah.
I love him, but he's flawed.
He's definitely flawed. But yeah, there's just a whole bunch of characters. I think that's what constitutes a great character, and what Rowling does really well is creating really flawed, good-hearted characters. I get so bored with characters who are just good. Just, I mean, that's not why we read books. We like seeing people overcome their flaws and all kind of stuff. But yeah, it's great. She's great at making these kind of characters.
Myrtle equals Hedwig.
Conspiracy? Aren't we all flawed, good-hearted characters? Yo, Cat, that's deep. That's deep, Cat. Maybe we are.
Speak for yourself, Cat. I'm perfect.
The most flawed of us all. He swam on for what felt like at least 20 minutes. He was passing over a vast expanse of black mud now, which swirled murkily as he disturbed the water. Then, at long last, he heard a snatch of haunting mer song. Okay, mermaid voices. Wait! Sirens, they just make noises, right? And mermaids sing. Anyway, okay, what are their voices? They're very enticing, aren't they? No, those are the sirens. Maybe they have these kind of voices. I'm a mermaid. And now along you'll have to look, and to recover what we took. Harry swam faster and soon saw a large rock emerge out of the muddy water ahead. It had paintings of mer people on it. They were carrying spears and chasing what looked like the giant squid. Whoa! Harry swam on past the rock, following the mer song. Your times have gone, though towering not. Lest what you seek stays here to rot. Jordan, the only thing he's written, no, do not do that. Oh, a cluster of crude stones. They're like the worst singers in the history of Hogwarts.
But it's all they do.
Gosh, we're sounding great today, guys. A cluster of crude stone dwellings stained with algae loomed suddenly out of the gloom on all sides. Here and there at the dark windows, Harry saw faces. Faces that bore no resemblance at all to the painting of the mermaid in the prefect's bathroom. Okay, they look different. They look different. The mer people had grayish skins and long, wild, dark green hair. Grayish skins and long, wild, dark green hair. Okay, that's not so different from them. Okay, wait. Their eyes were yellow, as were their broken teeth. Okay, and they wore thick ropes of pebbles around their necks. They leered at Harry as he swam past. One or two of them emerged from their caves to watch him better, their powerful silver fishtails beating the water, spears clutched in their hands. Harry sped on, staring around, and soon the dwellings became more numerous. There were gardens of weed around some of them. This is my patch, dude. And he even saw a pet Grindylow tied to a stake outside one door. Mer people were emerging on all sides now, watching him eagerly, pointing at his webbed hands and gills, talking behind their hands to each other. Harry sped around a corner, and a very strange sight met his eyes. A whole crowd of mer people were floating in front of the houses that lined what looked like a mer vision of a village square. Things are crazy right now. A choir of mer people were singing in the middle, calling the champions towards them, and behind them rose a crude sort of statue, a gigantic... do you mind taking him out? I think he really needs to pee.
Yeah.
Dexter's strolling up and down by the door.
Let me throw the volume on my phone so that I don't miss anything.
Which means he really needs to go to the bathroom. Thanks, buddy. A choir of mer people were singing in the middle, calling the champions towards them, and behind them rose a crude sort of statue, a gigantic mer person hewn from a boulder. 4 people were bound tightly to the tail of the stone person. Ron was tied between Hermione and Cho Chang.
It feels good to be right all the time.
You hear that, Mark? Sorry, Gabriel. I'm always right. You should call me the Oracle. I am the Oracle because I'm always guessing right. I'm always guessing right. Premonition fulfilled. There was also a girl who looked no older than 8, whose clouds of silvery hair made Harry feel sure that she was Fleur de la Cour's sister, like I guessed. All 4 of them appeared to be in a very deep sleep. Their heads were lolling around onto their shoulders, and fine streams of bubbles kept issuing from their mouths. Gabriel is another roommate who is on the same floor as me and Mark, and so me shouting is probably interrupting his work time on his computer. Harry sped towards the hostages, half expecting... Actually, it's I'm going to go long again today, because I want to... This is fun, and I'm going to finish this chapter. So let's do some questions, and I'm going to continue on. If you could give any gift to someone, who would it be, and what would you give them? Oh, gosh. If I could give a gift to anybody, who would it be, and
You didn't go.
and what would you give them? Well, I don't know. There's so like the thing is, right now you can't really go into shops and buy gifts. So yesterday I gave my friend whose birthday it was, like something that I really like, I was like, well, if I like it, I think she'll appreciate it. And Jamie, she might be on. It was a tea cozy. There he is. There he is. Okay, what else? What is your favorite go-to meme or GIF? I love GIFs, the memes that have soon. Just search soon meme, and it's just anybody watching from the shadows or over a crowd, and different versions of it, and it says soon. I don't know why. To me, it's the most hilarious GIF. What's your favorite GIF or meme?
Or meme?
Yeah.
Oh,
Get your face in here so people can see it.
Have you guys seen the iguana who's holding a piece of toast behind the other iguana? And it says, "Come on, baby, don't be like that. I brought you some toast." That's my favorite.
You could have said that to me. I've not seen that. Did you get sunburnt this weekend? No, I did not. Does it look like it? I don't know. The part of this is also an orange light, so it might be casting something orange on me. Who in your house has the best beard? I don't know what you mean by best. He has the longest one. I have the most trimmed one. Oh, Gabriel has the best mustache.
Oh, that's true.
It's
Yeah,
pretty
Gabriel
unreal.
has a
It's
stellar
pretty unreal.
mustache, yeah.
All right, I'm gonna log off, log back on, and continue this. So pop back on. See you in a sec. Hey. Let's do the rock version of Harry Potter. So cool. So cool.
Oh, yeah. What?
Are you ready, New York City?
Yeah.
Alrighty. Let's keep going, shall we? Let's keep on going. Turn on this background music I always have going on. Which I might change up to, who knows? Let's go! Okay. Harry sped towards the hostages, half expecting the mer people to lower their spears and charge at him, but they did nothing. The ropes of weeds tying the hostages to the statue were thick, slimy, and very strong. For a fleeting second he thought of the knife Sirius had brought him for Christmas, locked in his trunk in the castle a quarter of a mile away, no use to him whatsoever. He looked around. Many of the mer people surrounding them were carrying spears. He swam swiftly towards a 7-foot-tall merman with a long green beard and a choker of shark fangs. Okay, and tried to mime a request to borrow the spear. The merman laughed and shook his head. We do not help.
Just like badass shark hunter, powerful merman.
Oh, man.
Oh my god, no.
Okay. They can have that kind of accent. I can't make them all valley girls, can I? Oh, man.
We do not help.
He said in a harsh, croaky voice. Come on, Harry said fiercely, but only bubbles issued from his mouth. And he tried to pull the spear away from the merman, but the merman yanked it back, still shaking his head and laughing. Harry swirled around, stared about, something sharp, anything. There were rocks littering the lake bottom. He dived and snatched up a particularly jagged one, and returned to the statue. He began to hack at the ropes binding Ron, and after several minutes' hard work, they broke apart. Ron floated, unconscious, a few inches above the lake bottom, drifting a little in the ebb of the water. What is Nathan writing? Dobby on Dex. No. Oh no, Dobby. What have you done, Dobby? There were rocks littering the lake bottom. He dived and snatched up a particularly jagged one and returned to the statue. He began to hack at the ropes binding Ron, and after several minutes' hard work, they broke apart. Ron floated, unconscious, a few inches above the lake bottom, drifting a little in the ebb of the water. Harry looked around. There was no sign of any of the other champions. What are they playing at? Why didn't they hurry up? He turned back towards Hermione, raised the jagged rock, and began to hack at her bindings too. At once, several pairs of strong gray hands seized him. Half a dozen mermen were pulling him away from Hermione, shaking their green-haired heads and laughing. Okay, give me like some adjectives for mermen, or mer people, basically, and I'll decide if I want to do those a different voice or keep going with this one. All right?
7 p.m.
Hey! Healthcare workers! Healthcare workers! You are my favorite. You saved my life probably more than once. Cheers to you. Okay, here we go. You take your own hostage, one of them said to him. Leave the others. No way, said Harry furiously, but only 2 large bubbles came out. Proud, severe, proud, severe. No, no, that's all very serious Black range. Proud, severe, yeah, like this. Oh, but watery too. I don't know. Merpeople aren't like Ariel from The Little Mermaid. These people are creepy, more like angry fish people. Okay, great. Angry fish people. Fish people. No way, said Harry furiously, but only 2 large bubbles came out. Your task is to retrieve your own friend. Leave the others. She's my friend too, Harry yelled, gesturing towards Hermione, an enormous silver bubble emerging soundlessly from her lips. And I don't want them to die either. Cho's head was on Hermione's shoulder. The small silver-haired girl was ghostly green and pale. Harry struggled to fight off the mermaid, but he laughed harder than ever, holding him back. Also, the teachers and organizers and Dumbledores of this school just decided to oh wow, okay, cool, I can do like a Zoom thing. That's cool. Just decided like, yeah, let's put these kids underwater where they can easily die. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. Harry struggled to fight off the mermen, but they left harder than ever. Holding him back, Harry looked wildly around. Where were the other champions? Would he have time to take Ron to the surface and come back down for Hermione and the others? Would he be able to find them again? He looked down at his watch to see how much time was left. It had stopped working. But then the mer people around him started pointing excitedly over his head. Harry looked up and saw Cedric swimming towards them. There was an enormous bubble around his head, which made his features look oddly wide and stretched. Got lost, he mouthed, looking panic-stricken. Fleur and Crumb are coming now. Feeling enormously relieved, Harry watched Cedric pull a knife out of his pocket and cut Cho free. He pulled her upwards and out of sight. Harry looked around, waiting. Where were Fleur and Crumb? Time was getting short, and, according to the song, the hostages would be lost after an hour. The mer people started screeching excitedly. Yeah! Those holding Harry loosened their grip, staring behind them. Harry turned and saw something monstrous cutting through the water towards them. A human body in swimming trunks with the head of a shark. It was Crumb. Huh? What? He appeared to have transfigured himself, but badly. Woo! The shark man swam straight to Hermione and began snapping and biting at her ropes. The trouble was that Crumb's new teeth were positioned very awkwardly for biting anything smaller than a dolphin, and Harry was quite sure that if Crumb wasn't careful, he was going to rip Hermione in half. Darting forwards, Harry hit Crumb hard on the shoulder and held up the jagged stone. Crumb seized it and began to cut Hermione free. Within seconds, he had done it. He grabbed Hermione around the waist and, without a backwards glance, began to rise rapidly with her towards the surface. But that's unfair. He's going to be first, even though Harry helped him out? Boo. Now what? Harry thought desperately. If he could be sure that Fleur was coming, but still no sign. You know, let's put some different music on, hey? How about that?
Who's there for Fleur?
I think it's her younger sister or something.
Oh.
Let me know if you can still hear this music, yeah? He snatched up the stone which Crumb had dropped, but the mermen now closed in around Ron and the little girl, shaking their heads at him. He snatched up the stone. He snatched. Sorry, 1 second. Okay. Harry pulled out his wand. Get out of the way! Only bubbles flew out his mouth. But he had the distinct impression that the mermen had understood him because they suddenly stopped laughing. Their yellowish eyes were fixed upon Harry's wand, and they looked scared. There might be a lot more of them than there were of him, but Harry could tell by the look in their faces that they knew no more magic than the giant squid did. You've got until 3, Harry shouted. A great stream of bubbles burst from him. Yeah, can you hear it? So not her hair? According to John, her hair is what she's after?
In some ways, it's her
Who
hair.
said that? I never said that.
Don't you mean her hair, John?
I said the heir of her father.
Oh.
That's what I said. Yeah. The heir of her father, right? That's what I said. You misheard me. I didn't say hair. I said the heir of her father. Anyway, it's understandable that you would mistake stuff and misunderstand things. So, I forgive all of you. You've got until 3, Harry shouted. A great stream of bubbles burst from him, but he held up 3 fingers to make sure they got the message. 1, 2, he put down the second they scattered. Harry darted forwards and began to hack at the ropes binding the small girl to the statue, and at last she was free. He seized the little girl around her waist, grabbed the neck of Ron's robes, and kicked off from the bottom. It was very slow work. He could no longer use his webbed hands to propel himself forwards. He worked his flippers furiously, but Ron and Fleur's sister were like potato-filled sacks dragging him back down. He fixed his eyes skywards, though he knew he must still be very deep. The water above him was so dark. Merpeople were rising with him. He could see them swirling around him with ease, watching him struggle through the water. Would they pull him back down to the depths when the time was up? Did they perhaps eat humans? Harry's legs were seizing up with the effort to keep swimming. His shoulders were aching horribly with the effort of dragging Ron and the girl. He was drawing breath with extreme difficulty. He could feel pain on the sides of his neck again. He was becoming very aware of how wet the water was in his mouth. Oh, it's draining, the power is draining. Yet the darkness was definitely thinning now. He could see daylight above him. He kicked hard with his flippers and discovered that they were nothing more than feet. Water was flooding through his mouth into his lungs. He was starting to feel dizzy, but he knew light and air were only 10 feet above him. He had to get there. He had to. Harry kicked his legs so hard and fast, it felt as though his muscles were screaming in protest. What the hell, dude? His very brain felt waterlogged. He couldn't breathe. He needed oxygen. He had to keep going. He could not stop. And then he felt his head break the surface of the lake. Wonderful, cold, clear air was making his wet face sting. He gulped it down, feeling as though he had never breathed properly before, and, panting, pulled Ron and the little girl up with him. All around him, wild, green-haired heads were emerging out of the water with him, but they were smiling at him. The crowd in the stands was making a great deal of noise. John Voth, sugar Trump? Sugar Trump? Brown sugar Trump? Oh, fact check. Fake news. I got it. Harry had the impression they thought that Ron and the little girl might be dead, but they were wrong. Both of them opened their eyes. The girl looked scared and confused, but Ron merely expelled a great spout of air, blinked in the bright light, turned to Harry and said, "Wet, this, isn't it?" Then he spotted Fleur's sister. "What did you bring her for?" Fleur didn't turn up. I couldn't leave her," Harry panted. "Harry, you prat," said Ron. "You didn't take that song thing seriously, did you? Dumbledore wouldn't have let any of us drown." Wait, okay, so there was the sister, Hermione, Ron, and Cho Chang. Right, okay, gotcha. "You didn't take that song thing seriously, did you? Dumbledore wouldn't have let any of us drown." "But the song said, only to make sure you got back inside the time limit," said Ron. "I hope you didn't waste time down there acting the hero." Harry felt both stupid and annoyed. It was all very well for Ron. He'd been asleep. He hadn't felt how eerie it was down on the lake, surrounded by spear-carrying mer people who looked more capable of murder. "Come on," Harry said shortly. "Help me with her. I don't think she can swim very well." They pulled Fleur's sister through the water, back towards the bank where the judges stood watching. 20 merpeople accompanied them like a guard of honor, singing their horrible screechy songs. "You did it, Harry! You did it, Harry!" That was annoying, right? Horrible and screechy? Eh? Harry could see Madame Pomfrey fussing over Hermione, Krum, Cedric, and Cho, all of whom were wrapped in thick blankets. Dumbledore and Ludo Bagman stood beaming at Harry and Ron from the bank as they swam nearer. But Percy... Okay, enough of that. Nothing's tense anymore. Oh, so please not the rock version. Thank you very much. Here we go. With the regular music.
Yeah, Cat's got a good point.
I guess Krum really likes Hermione. Yeah, hey? He really does. Sorry, what did you say?
That Cat has a good point.
Yeah, totally good point. Where were we? Oh yeah, they're beaming at him. But Percy, who looked very white and somehow much younger than usual, came splashing out to meet them. Meanwhile, Madame Maxime was trying to restrain Fleur de la Cour, who was quite hysterical, fighting tooth and nail to return to the water. "Gabrielle! Gabrielle! Is she alive? Is she hurt?" "She's fine," Harry tried to tell her, but he was so exhausted he could hardly talk, let alone shout. Percy seized Ron and was dragging him back to the bank. "Get off, Percy! I'm all right!" Dumbledore and Bagman were pulling Harry upright. Fleur had broken free of Madame Maxime and was hugging her sister. "It was the Grendeleuses. They attacked me. Oh, Gabrielle, I thought... Madame Wait, who's Madame Pomfrey again? I forget. She's the... Pomfrey. Madame Pomfrey. Oh, she's the nurse, yeah. "Come here, you," said Madame Pomfrey's voice. She seized Harry and pulled him over to Hermione and the others, wrapped him so tightly in a blanket that he felt as though he was in a straitjacket, and forced a measure of very hot potion down his throat, steam gushing out of his ears. Aniktas, yeah, Percy was worried. He was worried for his brother. That's nice, seeing some vulnerability or a different characteristic from Percy. Yeah, that was nice. "Harry, well done!" Hermione cried. "You did it! You found out how! All by yourself!" "Well," said Harry, he would have told her about Dobby, but he just noticed Karkaroff watching him. He was the only judge who had not left the table. The only judge not showing signs of pleasure and relief that Harry, Ron, and Fleur's sister had got back safely. "Yeah, that's right," said Harry, raising his voice slightly so that Karkaroff could hear him. "You have a water beetle in your hair, Hermione." Oh no, sorry, that's Krum. You have a water beetle in your hair, Hermione," said Krum. Harry had the impression that Krum was drawing her attention back onto himself, perhaps to remind her that he had just rescued her from the lake. But Hermione brushed the beetle away impatiently and said, "You're well outside the time limit, though, Harry. Did it take you ages to find us?" "No, I found you okay." Harry's feeling of stupidity was growing. Now he was out of the water, it seemed perfectly clear that Dumbledore's safety precautions wouldn't have permitted the death of a hostage just because their champion hadn't turned up. Why hadn't he just grabbed Ron and gone? He would have been first back. Cedric and Krum hadn't wasted time worrying about anyone else. They hadn't taken the Mer song seriously. Dumbledore was crouching at the water's edge, deep in conversation with what seemed to be the chief merperson, a particularly wild and ferocious-looking male. He was making the same sort of screechy noises that the merpeople made when they were above water. Clearly, Dumbledore could speak Mermish. Finally, he straightened up, turned to his fellow judges, and said, "A conference before we give the marks, I think." The judges went into a huddle. Madame Pomfrey had gone to rescue Ron from Percy's clutches. She led him over to Harry, and the others gave him a blanket and some pepper-up potion, then went to fetch Fleur and her sister. Fleur had many cuts on her face and arms, and her robes were torn, but she didn't seem to care, nor would she allow Madame Pomfrey to clean them. Look after Gabrielle, she told her, and then she turned to Harry. You saved her, she said breathlessly, even though she was not your hostage. Anybody French is basically Pepe Le Pew. Basically. Yeah, said Harry, who was now heartily wishing he left all three girls tied to the statue. Fleur swooped down on him too. Oh, wait. Fleur bent down, kissed Harry twice on each cheek. He felt his face burn and wouldn't have been surprised if steam was coming out of his ears again. Then said to Ron, And you ate? Yeah, said Ron, looking extremely hopeful. Yeah, a bit. Fleur swooped down on him too and kissed him. Hermione looked simply furious, but just then Ludo Bagman's magically magnified voice boomed out beside them, making them all jump and causing the crowd in the stands to go very quiet.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached our decision. Mer Chieftainess Mercus has told us exactly what happened at the bottom of the lake, and we have therefore decided to award marks out of 50 for each of the champions as follows. Miss Fleur de la Cour, though she demonstrated excellent use of the bubblehead charm, was attacked by Grindylows as she approached her goal and failed to retrieve her hostage. We award her 25 points.
Applause from the stands. I deserved 0, said Fleur throatily, shaking her magnificent head.
Mr. Cedric Diggory, who also used the bubblehead charm, was first to return with the hostage, though he returned 1 minute outside the time limit of an hour.
Enormous cheers from the Hufflepuffs in the crowd. Harry saw Cho give Cedric a glowing look.
We therefore award him 47 points.
Harry's heart sank. If Cedric had been outside the time limit, he most certainly had been.
Mr. Victor Crumb used an incomplete form of transfiguration, which was nevertheless effective, and was second to return with his hostage. We award him 40 points.
Karkaroff clapped particularly hard, looking very superior.
Mr. Harry Potter used gillyweed to great effect,
Bagman continued.
He returned last, and well outside the time limit of an hour. However, the Mer Chieftainess informs us that Mr. Potter was first to reach the hostages, and that the delay in his return was due to his determination to return all hostages to safety, not merely his own.
Ron and Hermione both gave Harry half exasperated, half commiserating looks.
Most of the judges, and here, Bagman...
Wait, what? Oh.
Most of the judges,
and here, Bagman gave Karkaroff a very nasty look.
Feel that this shows moral fiber and merits full marks. However, Mr. Potter's score is 45 points.
Harry's stomach leapt. He was now trying for first place with Cedric. Ron and Hermione, caught by surprise, stared at Harry, then laughed and started applauding hard with the rest of the crowd. There you go, Harry! Ron shouted over the noise. You weren't being thick after all. You were showing moral fiber. That's good. Fleur was clapping very hard too, but Crumb didn't look very happy at all. He attempted to engage Hermione in conversation again, but she was too busy cheering Harry to listen.
The third and final task will take place at dusk on the 24th of June, continued Bagman. The champions will be notified of what's coming, precisely 1 month beforehand. Thank you all for your support of the champions!
It was over, Harry thought dazedly, as Madame Pomfrey began herding the champions and hostages back to the castle to get into dry clothes. It was over. He had got through. He didn't have to worry about anything now until June the 24th, yeah, right. Next time he was in Hogsmeade, he decided, as he walked back up the stone steps into the castle, he was going to buy Dobby a pair of socks for every day of the year. End of chapter. Yeah, right, he's gonna... It's like one of those moments again. And everything was good. His life was good. He didn't have anything to worry about.
Wah, wah, somebody died.
Okay, that was fun. Let's get to some questions, shall we? Can you tell us a story of how you and Dexter found each other? Yeah, absolutely. So, my parents have Dexter's brother. Where is Dexter? Let's get him up here.
He's right there.
Hey, Dexy. Come here. Dexter, come on. Dexter. Come on. Oh, thanks, Mark. Appreciate it. So, Dexter's brother, Teddy, my parents have Teddy. And so, I was over there and as a puppy, he was a puppy, and I just fell in love with his temperament and how these dogs are. I'm usually a big dog kind of guy. And so I posted about some videos about him, and then Kenton Klassen, I don't know if you're on the feed, but Kenton Klassen's mom, Lene, she messaged me, was like, she loves dogs. She was like, oh, I love that dog. Who's the breeder? I probably want one and everything, right? And so I was like, oh, I don't know. I'll get in touch with my mom about this. And so the breeder for these dogs, she's out in Toronto, and every once in a while comes out to Alberta, where my parents live. And I'll put this away so you can see more Dexter. There you go. And so then my mom called, and she said that she's Russian, so my mom will have to translate. So anyway, my mom called and said, hey, there's actually a dog available, so she can buy that dog if she wants to. And yes, I didn't pick him up from an orphanage because I didn't even think about getting a dog. An orphanage. But you know what I mean. So my mom, and I immediately was like, I want the dog. So I didn't call Lene. I don't know if Lene is listening. I didn't call Lene. I called my buddy Amitai and asked, hey, do you want to drive to Alberta to pick up this dog? So we drove to Alberta and drove back. Like one day drove there, picked Dexter up and drove back. He had a different name at the time. And I still remember exactly the moment when we came and his little puppy was so excitable. He like popped his head up and immediately ran over. It was the best. And since then, he's been my little buddy. And another short story, when he was a puppy and I was walking him, I was walking around the block, and across the street was this old woman, small. She was like just standing there staring. And what happened was, she just yelled at me. She was like, huge guy, little dog! And I just was like, yep. So that's the story of how I came to meet Dexter. What do you think it says about the schools that the champions believe... I hate that it's... What do you think it says about the schools that the champions believe people will be left for dead in the lake? What do you think it says about the schools that the champions believed? Oh, yeah, well... You know, they're all saying, well, Dumbledore wouldn't let that happen. And, you know, the Mer people seem to... Dumbledore and the Mer people were talking, so they're basically doing the same thing. There's probably some kind of spell. But the students don't know that they're safe. So maybe what they're trying to do is who is not only the best magician, but who is the strongest of character, too. Being a wizard. That could be, too. So maybe that's what it says about it. What did it say? What do you think it says about Cedric and Crumb, that girls they just started dating are the most important to them? Horny teenagers? Are there lots of spiders where you live? I wouldn't say more than other places. No, I don't think so. I wouldn't say so. If you came back, Kim's right. If you came back as a ghost, who would you haunt? Who would I haunt? Jordan Klassen. I would haunt Jordan Klassen. Just like mess up his concerts. Just think, take the Spider-Man gif and add soon to it. Oh, okay, so I think he's trying to write Spider-Man, and Spider-Man is, Sayer just said this to me yesterday. There's a Spider-Man Japanese TV show back in the day when Marvel was just like letting go of rights, and it's ridiculous. Type in Japanese Spider-Man, it is amazing. Yes, that would be so dope, Sayer. Is there a story behind Dex's name? Yes, there is. Yes, there is, Crocodile. Okay, I'm trying to make this go away so you can actually see some more of him. Okay, I got him in the first week or two. I was like, I'm not going to name him right away. I'm going to try and find the right name. So there was 3 different names that we and a bunch of friends. Actually, Jordan was there too, and Kenton, and Brandon, and Nathan. We were hanging around trying to decide. So it came down to 3 names. One name I thought is so funny when dogs have human names. I was thinking about calling him Chad. Imagine this little guy called Chad. Imagine how funny that would be. So I was thinking about calling him Chad. The second one was Dexter, and it's based off of Dexter, the TV show, the serial killer, because he's so harmless that I thought it'd be funny to name him something after something like that, but it just fits. And the third name was Vengeance, because imagine you're at the park and you're yelling after your dog, just yelling, "Vengeance! Vengeance!" Or you can say like, "Yep, vengeance is mine." So that's the huh?
Show them his tag.
All right, his
and
tag.
What it says.
So his tag is a little skull. No, wait a second. It's on the wrong way. And it's got the address and everything on it, and it says, "I am vicious" at the bottom, because he's so vicious. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Any more questions? No, I think that's it. Okay, friends, thank you so much. Check out my Patreon if you're interested in hearing more readings or supporting me in some way. I'm figuring out new ways of making money because everything, all my other jobs have come to a complete stop and halt. But I'll be doing this regardless, either way. So thanks for listening in. It's great to be back. I'm going to be taking one break a week, but for now, this is fantastic. For now, I'm going to keep on doing this. All right, have a good day, and you have purpose, you have meaning, and you are loved. Don't forget that. Right? Do not forget that. I forget that sometimes, and it's very helpful to be reminded of that, and I hope you remember that too. Bye-bye.